eating. Stop!
Hi, girlies. And Rob. So like, since we just finished with Mice and Men, I have a super question for you all. So do you think it should have ended that way with Lenny's death? Or should it have continued? What exciting new paths with the man who murdered his best friend to follow? How deep would his hatred and depression go?
Okay, I think that the story should have continued on to show the really depressing and hard struggles of a man suffering with depression and stuff. You get me?
Well, I think maybe it ended as a way of showing that George could finally move on with his life.
I personally feel like the story ended in a good way, because if it didn't end with George killing Lenny and Lenny ended up living, the story would have just dragged on forever, you know?
George killed Lenny. Do we agree with this?
I personally do not agree with this because George was Lenny's caregiver and they had a friendship there, and George just basically threw that all away.
Yeah, why did George even kill Lenny?
Yeah, so I understand where you guys are coming from. George and Lenny were friends. This is gonna take a fat toll on him. But if you think about it, if George didn't kill Lenny, then Curly probably would have.
Was Curly's wife a big part of what happened?
I think so, because Lenny was already a bother to Curly enough. Lenny killing Curly's wife was the last straw.
Curly's wife didn't even want to be married. She was super lonely. Her way of getting with other men was her escape.
But Curly's wife also didn't even realize that Lenny couldn't exactly think normally. She got frustrated with him when he wasn't paying attention to her, on page 88 for example. And she had known George talked to Lenny about staying away from her, but she still didn't stop at talking to him.
Did anyone notice how the beginning and the end of the book are similar?
Yeah, the beginning of the story talks about how the heron is watching the snake and doesn't take action. Yet, in chapter 6, the heron takes action and captures the snake. Just like how George took control of the situation and killed Lenny.
The beginning and the end refer to the sceneries which describe the wilderness background.
Okay. Facts. I think the beginning was foreshadowing how the end would end up like.
Yeah, like how Lenny was warned to stay away from Curly's wife, and he was also told to run to the bush in case of trouble. Ah! Him!
Oh, and we can't forget about Carlson killing Candy's dog. Lenny and George were obviously comparable to Candy and his dog. That was definitely an example of foreshadowing. What do you think would have happened if George didn't kill Lenny?
I believe George would have left with Lenny, but eventually got caught.
Agreed.
Ahem. Okay, so we discussed George killing Lenny and whether Curly was a big part of what happened. Rob pointed out the similarities in the beginning and the end of the book with the heron and the snake. And we also discussed the use of foreshadowing when Steinbeck has George tell Lenny to come back to the bush if anything goes terribly wrong. Ahem.
Okay.